As countless women peer into the mirror, they often dwell on fleeting years, missing the treasures carved by time, a gaze tempered by insight, a spirit shaped by resilience, and an aura that commands without effort. We live in a culture obsessed with surface charm, yet the deepest beauty is one you sense, a quiet strength that steadies those around you, a warmth that invites trust, a stillness that speaks louder than words. Master Shi Heng Yi reminds us, true power lies in the calm within, guiding us to see that beauty blooms from inner clarity, not outer display. You might doubt your radiance, measuring yourself against a younger shadow, but that yardstick misses the mark. Authentic beauty doesn't dim, it unfolds like a lotus in dawn's light, grows roots like an ancient tree, and carries the weight of a river's patient flow. Today, I'll reveal 12 unmistakable signs that you, in this moment, are a woman of profound allure, untouched by trends or praise. These signs arise not from adornments but from your essence. Cease seeking beauty, you are already the masterpiece you've longed to become. Start now, breathe deeply, turn inward, and let your truth shine. You are not defined by your youth, because your beauty did not fade with age, it deepened. You are a woman seasoned by years, sculpted not by filters but by time, and your presence is no longer about being seen, it is about being felt. 1. Your smile doesn't try to win approval. It radiates from a calm center within. Some people smile to soften rejection. Some smile to appear agreeable, to avoid tension, or to seek attention. But your smile isn't a mask. It's not a tool. It is a quiet declaration of inner peace. A woman who smiles from the heart is not trying to please the room. She brings her own light into it. In modern culture, we're taught to smile as a social lubricant. But this kind of performance creates emotional dissonance. Neuroscience confirms that forced smiles increase cortisol levels and reduce authentic emotional regulation. A genuine smile, however, activates the brain's reward systems, stabilizes mood, and strengthens emotional resilience. Shaolin philosophy teaches that facial expressions should reflect inner harmony, not social strategy. When your face aligns with your state of mind, you stop living as a reaction to others and start radiating clarity. Master Shi Heng Yi often says, your outer world is a reflection of your inner state. A smile rooted in stillness has nothing to prove. It isn't seeking validation. It's the mark of someone who has touched stillness and no longer needs permission to shine. This doesn't mean you're always cheerful. But it means your joy isn't fragile. You smile not because everything is perfect, but because you no longer depend on the external to decide your internal weather. You have trained your nervous system to find calm without waiting for the world to calm down. Others notice this. They may not know why they feel lighter in your presence. But they do. Because your smile isn't loud or decorative. It's honest. It tells the silent story of a woman who has survived, softened, and matured. How different would your life feel if you stopped smiling to protect others' comfort and started smiling only when your spirit truly opened? 2. You don't follow trends. You move with intention. There is a kind of quiet rebellion in your choices. Not the kind that seeks attention, but the kind that refuses to be shaped by noise. As an older woman, you wear your age not as a disguise but as a refinement. Your style is not in fashion, it is in rhythm with who you are. You no longer chase approval through appearance. Modern pressures often disguise insecurity as self-expression. Social media glorifies mimicry. But when a woman dresses from her presence, not from panic or people-pleasing, she becomes magnetic. Neuroscience shows that self-authenticity increases oxytocin production, promoting trust, bonding, and positive self-image. This is not about clothing. It is about coherence between your internal identity and your external signals. Shi Heng Yi reminds us, don't become a shadow of the world around you. Let your actions express your essence. When you dress in alignment with your being, you become impossible to copy. Because what you wear is not borrowed. It's embodied. Trends come and go. But dignity remains. You've earned your taste through life experience, through mistakes, experiments, growth. That taste may be subtle or bold, minimalist or expressive. But it is yours. And it speaks without needing to shout. Others might ask where you bought it. But the truth is, they're not trying to replicate your outfit. They're responding to something deeper, your grounded presence. Because when you show up as yourself, consistently, you teach others how to belong to themselves. If your clothes became invisible, would your presence still be unforgettable? 3. You embrace your story, every scar, every wrinkle, every season. Modern culture teaches us to erase the past, smooth the surface, conceal the evidence. But in the Shaolin path, the body is not a problem to fix. It is a record of your life. A sacred scroll written in skin. Each mark on your body tells a truth. A laugh line that came from joy. A wrinkle from worry overcome. A scar from something you survived. When you stop fighting these signs, you begin to own your strength. Psychology confirms that self-acceptance is a core predictor of well-being. When we make peace with our appearance, cortisol levels drop, and resilience increases. The nervous system relaxes. The energy field expands. Shi Heng Yi teaches, your body is the temple. Not because it is perfect, but because it is where your spirit lives. You are not behind. You are not expired. You are ripened. To embrace your story doesn't mean you deny pain. It means you stop hiding from it. It means you stop pretending you are unfinished. Every chapter, even the hard ones, built the clarity you carry today. Others might compare themselves to edited images. You, as an older woman, walk unfiltered. You don't apologize for your journey. You show up as evidence that it's possible to live, to feel, to grow, and still stand. What would shift if you viewed every line on your face as a medal, not a mistake? 4. An older woman who accepts a compliment without shrinking has learned, through years of experience, to recognize her own worth. She no longer sees admiration as a threat, a trap, or a test. She sees it as a mirror, reflecting not just beauty, but growth, endurance, and self-respect. Many deflect praise out of habit. Oh, it's nothing. This old thing? But this habit is not humility, it's a quiet form of self-rejection. And older women, especially, have been conditioned to fade, to yield, to be modest to the point of invisibility. But the truth is, when you downplay recognition, you tell your nervous system that your light must stay dim. You reinforce the belief that being seen is unsafe. Yet when you say, "thank you," and mean it, something shifts. You stop performing smallness. You allow joy in. You honor the time, effort, and courage it took to become the woman you are. You are not fishing for more. You are not clinging to praise. You are simply unafraid to let the light land on you. Master Shi Heng Yi teaches, false humility is another form of ego. True humility is presence without self-sabotage. An older woman who receives kind words with calm and openness is not arrogant, she is whole. She does not inflate from praise, nor collapse without it. She remains steady. Rooted. Unashamed of her radiance. This kind of presence settles a room. It invites others to put their masks down. Because when you stop rejecting the beauty in yourself, others start remembering the beauty in themselves. If someone offered you a flower, would you turn away, or would you recognize it as something already blooming within you? 5. You radiate warmth and magnetism, without effort, without performance. There's a kind of quiet power that only an older woman carries, a glow that doesn't demand attention, yet draws it naturally. You feel it the moment she walks in. It's not in what she wears or how loud she laughs. It's in how fully she inhabits herself. She doesn't need to sparkle, she radiates. This kind of presence can't be faked or fast-tracked. It doesn't come from filters, poses, or surface charm. It comes from lived experience. From having walked through fire and come out tender, not bitter. From knowing the value of intuition over approval. From no longer needing to impress, and choosing instead to connect. Psychologists call it authentic presence. It often emerges in later life, when emotional intelligence deepens and the nervous system learns to rest. An older woman with this presence regulates the energy of a room, not through control, but through calm. People feel safe around her, even if they don't know why. Master Shi Heng Yi often reminds us, when your heart is calm, your presence becomes medicine. And that's what you are, not a spectacle, but a source of soothing. You don't try to pull attention. You offer relief. Your magnetism doesn't come from needing to be seen, but from being at peace with being seen. Makeup may enhance the surface. But your radiance comes from somewhere deeper. From a quiet confidence rooted in time, trials, and truth. From the awareness that you've earned your stillness. That your beauty is not decoration, it's transmission. Others might chase attention with noise. You attract it with grace. Because you've stopped trying to be impressive, and started becoming impactful. What if you trusted that your energy could speak for you, long before you ever said a word? 6. You see through the mask, into the emotion beneath. It's not just what people say. It's how their eyes shift. How their shoulders sink. How their voice trembles, even when their words sound steady. You've learned to listen between the lines. Because as an older woman, you no longer need to be the loudest voice, you've become the quietest presence. This is not naivety. It's wisdom carved by time. You've watched how people hide behind smiles, armor, and ambition. You've worn those masks yourself. That's why you recognize them. You know that anger often shields fear. That sarcasm often conceals pain. That silence can sometimes scream the loudest. Empathy is not fragility. It's resilience. Neuropsychology shows that emotional attunement, the ability to sense others' inner states, strengthens mirror neurons, builds trust, and deepens human connection. This is a beauty that isn't diminished by age, it is deepened by it. Because real empathy doesn't seek applause. It simply sees what's real. Shi Heng Yi teaches, to understand others, look not at what they show, but at what they carry. You've trained your perception over decades. You don't rush to solve people. You make room for their stories to unfold. Others may glance past subtle pain. But you notice it, and soften toward it. Because you've outgrown the need for perfection. What you value now is truth. And perhaps your greatest strength isn't in what you say, but in the quiet, unwavering way you see. 7. You stay calm, even when the room is spinning. While others react, you respond. While tensions rise, you remain anchored. Not because life has become easier, but because you, as an older woman, have become steadier. Your calm is not a coincidence. It is cultivated. It's the result of years spent choosing presence over panic, wisdom over impulse. This kind of composure isn't born overnight. It's grown through heartbreak and healing. Through learning when to speak and when to stay silent. Through watching storms pass, and realizing you are the stillness in the center. Emotional self-mastery doesn't mean bottling things up. It means being so attuned to yourself that you can hold discomfort without collapsing. Neuroscience shows that this kind of regulation, the pause between feeling and acting, activates the prefrontal cortex, the seat of choice and clarity. It is rare. And powerful. Master Shi Heng Yi teaches, you are not your first reaction. You are the space between stimulus and response. And you, over the years, have widened that space. You've trained your nervous system to breathe before it breaks. To soften before it snaps. To ground instead of grasp. And others feel it. In your presence, they can exhale. You don't escalate chaos, you dissolve it. You bring a quiet rhythm that steadies the room. Not with noise. Not with force. but with presence. You are no longer here to prove yourself, only to be yourself. And isn't it beautiful, that your calm is now a refuge, not just for you, but for everyone around you? 8. You live in truth, not for praise, not for performance, but because it's who you are. There may have been a time, earlier in your life, when you bent to fit in. Smiled to be liked. Quieted your voice to keep the peace. But as an older woman, you've outgrown the need to shrink. You've stopped dimming your light just to avoid casting a shadow. Now, you live in alignment, not louder, just clearer. You no longer trade authenticity for approval. You speak, move, and choose from a place of inner congruence. Not because it's trendy, but because it's the only way that feels true. In today's world, truth can feel rare. So many hide behind curated identities. But you've chosen something radical, to be real. To stay rooted in who you are, even if it means walking alone sometimes. That kind of quiet courage doesn't demand applause. It simply is. Psychologists call this self-congruence, when your inner values match your outer expression. Studies show this integrity strengthens self-worth, lowers anxiety, and attracts deeper, more authentic relationships. People can feel when your words and energy come from the same place. And in your presence, they relax, because there's nothing to decode. Master Shi Heng Yi reminds us, the one who doesn't seek attention is the one who receives it. That's the paradox. When you stop performing for love, you start radiating it. From within. And others feel it. You no longer gather people through performance. You connect through presence. Through honesty. Through the soft power of a woman who has made peace with her truth. This is not rebellion. This is remembrance of who you were, before the world told you who to be. So, ask yourself gently, what if your greatest magnetism is that you are no longer trying to be anything but yourself? 9. Others feel safe in your presence, not because you perform strength, but because you embody steadiness. You're not chasing the spotlight. You've long outgrown the need to prove yourself. And that's exactly why people feel they can breathe around you. You don't demand attention, you offer space. You're not a statue on a pedestal. You are a quiet shelter in a noisy world. As a woman who has lived, loved, lost, and learned, you carry a calm that can't be faked. While many still project polished perfection, you've realized that true connection comes not from impressing, but from being fully present. You don't need to be ideal. You just need to be real. Psychology calls this a secure presence, a state where others' nervous systems literally begin to regulate in your company. Because your energy is no longer scattered. You don't rush to fix or control. You simply sit with what is. You hold space, not for performance, but for truth. Master Shi Heng Yi teaches, true power is not in domination, but in the calm that holds all storms without drowning in them. You are that calm. Not because you've never been tossed by life's waves, but because you've learned how to stay open-hearted through them. This isn't the kind of strength that shouts. It's the kind that wraps around others like a warm shawl on a cold day. You've become a quiet refuge, not by avoiding the world, but by softening into it. Not by leading loudly, but by loving deeply. So maybe your greatest legacy isn't what you built, but how you made others feel when they stood near your stillness. What if the most unforgettable thing about you is the peace you gave without ever needing to be noticed? 10. You inspire others, not by telling them who to become, but by reminding them who they already are. As an older woman, your influence needs no script, no performance. Just presence. And that is what makes you unforgettable. You don't push people forward with pressure, you lift them with belief. When someone stands near you, they feel truly seen, not for their potential but for their essence. This kind of inspiration doesn't rise from grand speeches or perfect lives, it grows from quiet integrity. From the way you walk into a room with gentle certainty. From the way you listen, fully, without interruption. From the way your gaze says, "I'm here, and you matter." Neuroscience calls this limbic resonance, the power of emotional connection that regulates and uplifts others. You've cultivated it through years of reflection, forgiveness, and growth. The energy you share isn't shallow enthusiasm, it's earned hope. Master Shi Heng Yi teaches, your example is your loudest voice. You live that truth. You don't simply encourage, you embody encouragement. People leave conversations with you feeling clearer, stronger, more capable. Not because you fixed them, but because you believed in them until they remembered their own light. That is a rare beauty, the kind that echoes long after you've left the room. You don't inspire through perfection. You inspire through presence, through kindness that isn't loud, through respect that never seeks applause. Imagine a world where everyone felt as seen and valued as they do in your presence. 11. You know how to listen, not to reply, not to fix, not to evaluate, but to witness. In a world full of noise, true listening has become rare. Many hear only to prepare their next response. But when someone speaks to you, they don't feel observed, they feel understood. You offer silence as a gift, not as a pause between your own thoughts. You don't rush to interpret or label. You've learned that people reveal their truth slowly, in layers, like petals opening when the conditions feel safe. And you become that safety, not by agreeing with everything, but by holding space for everything without judgment. Psychologists call this non-judgmental presence, and it's one of the most healing forces in human interaction. When others are with you, their nervous systems soften. Their defenses lower. Because you don't dissect them with your mind, you receive them with your heart. Master Shi Heng Yi often says, true strength is silent, and true wisdom listens. You live this. You're not quick to advise. You don't interrupt vulnerability with comparison. You don't need to prove you understand, you just allow others to be who they are. This doesn't mean you tolerate disrespect or dishonesty. It means you discern without condemning. You've seen enough in life to know that every person carries a hidden war, and judgment only adds to their weight. To be heard without fear is a rare experience. And you provide that. You're the one people come to when they want to speak without editing themselves. Because you don't flinch at the truth. You've made peace with your own shadows, and so you don't fear others. How would your relationships shift if you chose to listen not to control the outcome, but simply to let someone feel real in your presence? 12. You are not unforgettable because of how you look, but because of how people feel when they stand near you. Long after your image fades from memory, the imprint of your presence remains. A calm they didn't expect. A comfort they couldn't name. A moment when their guard dropped, and their heart felt seen. In a world obsessed with surface, you've cultivated depth. While others chase admiration, you offer sanctuary. Your beauty is not framed in symmetry or style, it lives in the energy you carry, the silence you hold, the warmth that seems to wrap around people without a word. Neuroscience tells us that people don't remember what we say, they remember how we made them feel. And those who carry grounded, open-hearted presence leave the strongest mark. Because that energy isn't performative. It's earned. Master Shi Heng Yi teaches, you don't need to shine brighter than others. You only need to return to the light within. You've done this work. You've stopped trying to impress and started embodying. The result is a quiet magnetism. One that doesn't demand attention, but receives it naturally. People leave your company feeling more themselves. That is why they remember you. Not for the dress you wore or the hairstyle you chose, but for the way you looked them in the eyes. The way you made space for their truth. The way your energy said, you're safe here. And that kind of beauty never ages. Because it was never about youth. It was about depth. And depth, once touched, echoes forever. What would change if you stopped trying to be unforgettable, and simply allowed your presence to become undeniable?